A wealthy man unexpectedly embraces a girl from humble beginnings, leading him to uncover his genuine affection. The morning sun casts elongated shadows over Manhattan's vibrant financial district as Ethan Parker walks with determination along Wall Street. At 32, he has already established himself as one of the youngest managing partners at Sterling and Ross Investment Group. His meticulously crafted charcoal suit and assured presence signify that he is a figure who fits seamlessly into this realm of towering glass structures and multi-million-dollar transactions. Yet today, there's an unsettling feeling in the air. Ethan glances at his Patek Philippe watch, a reward he bestowed upon himself after sealing his first significant deal, and his expression darkens. He finds himself delayed for the board meeting, a consequence of his usual coffee shop being unexpectedly shut down. Now he finds himself navigating through uncharted territory, relying on his phone's guidance to locate the nearest cafe that could possibly satisfy his discerning tastes. The streets tighten their embrace as he veers onto a less refined side lane. In this place, the shining exteriors yield to time-worn structures rich in character, their aged brick surfaces narrating tales of a New York that thrived long before the era of hedge funds and high-frequency trading. Along the street, small businesses flourish. A family-run deli, a charming vintage bookstore, and at last, the coffee shop his phone has guided him to, the daily grind. Through the window, he observes a vibrant mix of students, local workers, and creative individuals filling the space. This was far from his typical environment. Yet, the enticing scent of freshly ground coffee beans beckons him, overcoming his hesitations. As he pushes open the door, the inviting ambience wraps around him, a striking departure from the cold, clinical corporate settings he's accustomed to. Behind the counter, Sarah Mitchell meticulously cleans the espresso machine, her soft hum blending with the indie rock melodies drifting gently from the cafe speakers. At 25, she stands as the foundation of this establishment, even if her name doesn't appear on any ownership documents. Her dark, curly hair is gathered in a haphazard bun, while her green apron is marked with coffee stains from a busy morning of work. Even in the early hours and amidst relentless demands, her warm smile remains steadfast. "Jules, could you take over the register for a moment?" She beckons to her colleague. "I must verify the status of that delivery in the back." Just as Jules is about to reply, Sarah spots Mr. Garcia, a familiar face among the regulars, grappling with his cumbersome messenger bag while attempting to steady himself with his cane. Without a moment's pause, she darts from behind the counter to assist him. "Allow me to assist you with that, Mr. Garcia," she says, extending her hand towards his bag. In her rush, she bumps into someone stepping into the shop. Her momentum propels her onward, leading to an unexpected entanglement with a total stranger, who turns out to be Ethan. Time appears to stand still for an instant. As Sarah's gaze locks with Ethan's, an undeniable spark ignites in the air around them. She observes his surprised look, the faint aroma of his luxurious cologne, and the manner in which his hands have instinctively supported her. Ethan, in that moment, is captivated by the authentic warmth reflected in her deep brown eyes and the way her smile, despite its shyness, continues to shine brightly. "I sincerely apologize," Sarah exclaims, quickly stepping back. "I was merely assisting Mr. Garcia with his bag, and I didn't notice you arriving." Ethan adjusts his tie, striving to restore his poise. "No harm done," he states, though his typical composure has been ever so slightly disturbed. "In fact, you might have just prevented me from stumbling as well." Mr. Garcia lets out a soft laugh from behind them. Sarah is constantly seeking ways to assist others. At times, it seems she could benefit from a system to oversee the multitude of her generous actions. A delicate flush tints Sarah's cheeks as she successfully assists Mr. Garcia with his bag. "Would either of you like something? Mr. Garcia, would you like your customary Earl Grey?" "Certainly, dear," Mr. Garcia replies, as he strolls over to his usual corner table. Ethan checks his watch once more, fully aware that he is undoubtedly going to miss his meeting. Yet, oddly enough, the thought doesn't seem to trouble him as much as one might expect. "I'll have a large Americano with an extra shot," he says, then unexpectedly adds, And whatever Mr. Garcia is having, it's on me today. Sarah's eyes widen just a bit at the gesture, and in that moment, she truly sees him for the first time. Observing the luxurious suit, the elegant watch, the meticulously curated look. Though he clearly doesn't belong to this neighborhood, there's an unexpected warmth about him that draws her in. "How thoughtful of you," she replies, processing the order. Individuals who experience a collision first thing in the morning often don't exhibit such generosity. Most mornings don't begin with such a remarkable encounter. Ethan responds, taken aback by his own openness. As Sarah crafts their drinks, Ethan remains at the counter, captivated by her deft motions and effortless rapport with the other patrons. As she passes him his coffee, their fingers touch for a fleeting moment, and that familiar spark of connection ignites once more. "Thanks," he says, taking a sip. "The coffee is remarkable, surpassing what he typically enjoys. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Ethan." With a playful smile, Sarah responds, as if you already knew that from all the shouting across the cafe. Ethan can't help but smile in return, the dull meeting fading from his mind entirely. "Sarah." He utters it again as if gauging the sensation of the name. "Seems you've just gained a loyal patron." Later that afternoon, Ethan finds himself in his corner office, mindlessly swirling a cup of coffee that has long lost its warmth, a remnant from the office kitchen. It has a dull bitterness, lacking the vibrancy of what he experienced earlier today. The tedious meeting had proceeded smoothly, even with his late arrival. Ultimately, it's difficult to feel genuine anger towards someone who has just landed a $50 million deal for the company. Yet, his thoughts continually wander back to the routine of life, to that fleeting instance of authentic human connection that seems so out of place in his meticulously organized existence. He discovers himself browsing the cafe's Instagram page, glancing through images of beautifully crafted lattes and cheerful patrons. In various images, he notices Sarah, perpetually in motion, her natural smile consistently catching him by surprise. A sudden knock breaks through his thoughts. Rebecca Chin, his assistant, strides in with a pile of documents. "Your 3 o'clock appointment has been canceled, but Connor would like to discuss the Morrison portfolio before the end of the day," she states with precision. "Your mother also reached out. Once more. She wishes to bring to your attention the upcoming charity gala hosted by the Charleston family this Saturday." Ethan stifles a groan. The Charleston family, particularly their daughter Madison, has been the focus of his mother's not-so-subtle matchmaking efforts for months. "Let Connor know I'll arrive in 20 minutes. And inform my mother." He takes a moment, then exhales deeply. "Inform her that I will attend the gala." Meanwhile, in a different part of the city, Sarah finds herself on her lunch break, nestled into a well-loved couch in the cafe's secluded back room. She's sifting through the month's bills, attempting to balance the figures. Jules, her coworker, drops down next to her, extending half a sandwich her way. "Reveal it," Jules insists. "What's going on with Mr. Wall Street this morning?" His gaze was unwavering, completely captivated by you. With a warm smile, Sarah graciously takes the sandwich. "No agreement has been reached. He was simply being kind after I nearly knocked him over." "Incredible. That's the reason he's returned twice today." Sarah's head jerks upward. "What is happening?" "He has not." "Indeed he has. Just after the lunch rush, you found yourself in the back, taking stock of the inventory. About an hour ago, I noticed you were on your break." Each time, he scanned the surroundings as if on the lookout for someone, before placing an order for a coffee to take away. Sarah senses a flush rise to her cheeks, yet she attempts to brush aside the nervous flutter in her stomach. It seems to be merely a matter of convenience for his office. Indeed, is it really that common for men in expensive suits to walk 6 blocks past several other coffee shops just for the sake of convenience? Jules lets out an exasperated sigh. "When he returns tomorrow and you ought to engage him in conversation." "And express what exactly?" "Hey, I apologize for the overwhelming hug. I'd like to talk about how I'm struggling to make rent while it seems you might earn what I make in a year within just a week." Sarah shakes her head as she glances back at the bills. "We come from separate realms, Jules. Perhaps that's precisely what adds to its intrigue. Jules proposes. Moreover, he appears distinct from the typical formal attire. Did you notice the way he covered Mr. Garcia's tea? Tommy mentioned that he placed a 20 in the tip jar. Just as Sarah is about to reply, her phone vibrates. It's a message from her younger brother Danny. We need to have a conversation. Would you be able to swing by once your workday is done? Her heart plummets. Danny has faced challenges since losing his scholarship last semester, juggling various odd jobs while striving to remain in school. Whenever he reaches out, it often signifies a request for assistance that she struggles to provide. I've got to leave early today, she informs Jules. Matters concerning family. Would you be able to take over the final hour of my shift? Jules playfully insists. Only if you promise to give Mr. Wall Street a chance when he returns. Sarah collects her belongings, her thoughts consumed by her brother's troubles. If he returns, I'll consider it. Ethan gazes out of his office window, taking in the bustling cityscape beneath him. His coffee cup sits empty once more, and his mind drifts to the commute that awaits him in the morning. His phone illuminates with a message from his mother. Madison inquired whether you will be attending the gala with a date. Should I let her know that you're free? Ethan sets his phone down on the desk, his mind wandering to a pair of warm brown eyes and a sincere smile that had no connection to his financial status. Perhaps by tomorrow, he will find the bravery to engage in a genuine conversation, one that begins without any abrupt encounters. The afternoon sun stretches its rays, creating elongated shadows that weave through the structures, linking the polished financial district to the charming, time-worn section of the city, where a quaint coffee shop carries on with its familiar rhythm. Two distinct realms divided by more than mere city blocks, yet somehow feeling more connected than ever. With urgency, Sarah navigates the dusky streets, making her way to her brother's modest studio apartment nestled within a time-worn brick structure. She discovers Danny amidst a chaotic array of textbooks and discarded energy drink cans, the dark circles under his eyes revealing the toll of his fatigue. Text, I believe I've truly made a mistake, sister, he admits as she walks in. Do you recall that position I landed at the tech repair shop? Unfortunately, I inadvertently caused some damage to a customer's laptop during the repair process. My supervisor mentioned that if I'm unable to cover the replacement cost, he will have no choice but to terminate my employment. Sarah settles into the familiar embrace of Danny's well-used desk chair. What is the cost? $2,000. Danny tousles his unruly hair with a sense of frustration. I've been taking on delivery jobs after my classes, but I've managed to save only around $300. The supervisor has set a deadline for me by the end of the week. Sarah's heart is burdened. Her savings account contains precisely $1,426. Funds she had been saving for a local business course at the community college. I can assist with some of it, she begins, but Danny interrupts her. Not Sarah. You've already accomplished a great deal. Perhaps it's time I confront the truth and step away from academic responsibilities for a bit. Definitely not. You're on the brink of completion. With determination, Sarah rises to her feet. We'll come up with a solution. It's our constant practice. The following morning, Ethan makes his way to the daily grind, arriving right at 7:45 a.m., having carefully planned his stroll to sidestep the hustle and bustle of the day before. Sarah stands at the counter, and he quickly observes that her typical radiant smile appears muted, her movements lacking their usual vigor. Good morning, he says, a hint of satisfaction in his voice as she glances up, her expression brightening just a bit. Could I please have an Americano with an extra shot? Your order has been recalled to mind. I'm impressed, Sarah jests, though her heart isn't fully engaged. Many new patrons dedicate a minimum of 5 minutes to examining the menu. I recognize what appeals to me at first glance, Ethan replies, then continues in a gentler tone, although it appears you might benefit from the coffee more than I do today. Is everything all right? Sarah begins to prepare his drink, taken aback by his keen insight. Just some family matters. There's no problem that a good cup of coffee can't solve. I'm not so sure about that, Ethan remarks, leaning slightly against the counter. I've heard that I'm quite adept at listening if you'd like to share your thoughts. Sarah gazes upward, meeting his eyes. There's a real sense of concern present, beyond mere courteous customer service dialogue. For a fleeting instant, she considers revealing her thoughts, but then her gaze lands on his impeccably fitted suit, reminding her of the chasm that separates their realities. Thank you, but I believe you have more pressing matters to attend to than the antics of a barista, she remarks as she hands him his coffee. Challenge me, Ethan insists. I have half an hour before my first meeting, and I'd much prefer to be here than gazing at spreadsheets. Something in his tone penetrates her barriers. Before she realizes it, Sarah is sharing with him the story of Danny, the laptop, and the pressing deadline ahead. She omits the details regarding her savings, yet Ethan appears to grasp the underlying message. Text, he's fortunate to have you, he remarks as she concludes. After a brief pause, he retrieves his business card. I'm aware that I have connections in the tech industry. Perhaps I could reach out to some contacts and inquire if there are any job openings? A part-time position with improved compensation could potentially benefit your brother's circumstances. Sarah gazes at the card, its sturdy cardstock and embossed lettering catching her eye, bearing the name of the Sterling and Ross Investment Group. There's no need for you to do that. I want to, Ethan states plainly. Moreover, I have faith in nurturing possibilities. Based on what you've shared, it seems your brother has an abundance of that. Their eyes lock once more, and Sarah senses that familiar bond from yesterday intensifying in the moment. The tranquility is interrupted by Jules's voice from the back. Sarah, the delivery guy has arrived with the supplies. I suppose I should be going, Sarah says with a hint of hesitation. Thank you very much. Is that so? Ethan assures that he will return tomorrow. Feel free to reach out if you reconsider your decision regarding the assistance. As he strides toward his office, Ethan retrieves his phone and cancels his lunch meeting. Instead, he dedicates the hour to delving into tech repair costs and reaching out to his contacts in different startups. He convinces himself that it's merely about assisting someone in need, yet deep down, he understands there's a deeper significance. That evening, as Sarah meticulously counts her savings and contemplates ways to extend them, her gaze drifts to Ethan's business card. His selfless act of assistance, given freely and without any desire for recompense, has stirred something deep within her. Perhaps Jules had a point. Perhaps the gap between their worlds isn't as unbridgeable as she once believed. Rebecca lingers at the threshold of Ethan's office, her face reflecting a blend of bewilderment and worry. Are you asking me to call off your dinner with the Charlestons on Thursday? The dinner your mother has meticulously organized for weeks? Something came up, Ethan responds, his gaze fixed on the screen as he sifts through tech industry job boards. A significant client meeting? Are we talking about Thursday evening? In a cozy cafe nestled in Lower Manhattan? Rebecca arches an eyebrow. Is it the same coffee shop you've been to each day this week? At this moment, Ethan raises his gaze. Have you been following my whereabouts? Your mother possesses. It seems that a friend of Madison Charleston's, who works in the building across the street, has observed your growing fondness for coffee. Rebecca shuts the door and speaks in a hushed tone. She informed your mother, who then reached out to me in a frenzy about an unsuitable waitress diverting your attention from appropriate matches. Ethan experiences a sudden surge of frustration. Sarah's not a waitress. She's something else entirely. He halts, coming to the realization that he's merely reinforcing Rebecca's argument. It's not as you perceive. I'm assisting her brother in his job search. Indeed, because that's typically the behavior of affluent investment partners. Manage job placements for siblings working at various coffee shops? Rebecca lets out a weary breath. I'm not here to pass judgment. However, it may be wise to clarify your intentions before your mother begins her typical meddling. At the daily grind, Sarah is guiding Danny through the art of crafting a perfect latte. She persuaded her manager to assign him a few shifts to help him earn some extra money. Even though they both understand it's merely a short-term fix. You're still considering seeking his assistance, aren't you? Danny observes as his sister meticulously cleans the espresso machine. The gentleman in the suit? Ethan, Sarah corrects without thinking. And no, perhaps. I'm uncertain. She pivots to confront her brother. Is it really that complicated? What seems intricate? He extended his assistance in helping me secure a more suitable job. Precisely. He proposed assisting you in securing a position at a prestigious tech startup where he likely holds a board seat. What comes next? We would be indebted to him. Individuals like that don't engage in activities without compensation. Danny. Perhaps he simply has a fondness for you. Danny proposes. He has made an appearance each morning this week. Today, he lingered for nearly an hour, engrossed in conversation with you about that book you brought up. Sarah recalls the discussion. Ethan's expression brightened at the mention of her passion for classic literature. How they found themselves engaged in a lively discussion comparing Steinbeck and Hemingway. It felt completely effortless, as if I were conversing with a longtime companion. Sarah asserts with conviction that his feelings for her are irrelevant. We come from distinct realms. Observe this location, observe our presence. Do you honestly believe that a person like him could grasp the complexities of our existence? The bell above the door rings softly, drawing Sarah's gaze to the entrance where an elegantly dressed older woman steps inside. There's something about her impeccably styled silver hair and piercing gaze that causes Sarah to adjust her apron with a hint of self-consciousness. Welcome to the daily grind, Sarah says, her smile radiating warmth as always. How may I assist you today? The woman surveys the cafe, her contempt barely hidden beneath the surface. Is your name Sarah? Sarah's smile wavers just a bit. Indeed, I am. Have we crossed paths before? No, my dear, we haven't. I am Catherine Parker, the mother of Ethan. She articulates every word with clarity, as if addressing a young listener. I was curious if we could have a brief conversation. Danny moves in closer to his sister, a protective stance, yet Sarah gently places her hand on his arm. It's all right, she murmurs softly. Jules, would you mind stepping in for me for a moment? Catherine selects a secluded table in the corner, delicately extracting a handkerchief from her designer purse to carefully wipe the chair before taking a seat. Sarah sits opposite her, heart racing yet maintaining a calm facade. Catherine starts off with clarity. My son has always been compassionate towards those in need. It's quite commendable, yet it may result in misinterpretations. I have no doubt you're a wonderful person, but I hope you can understand that any kind of relationship with Ethan would be quite unsuitable. Mrs. Parker, Sarah begins, but Catherine raises a perfectly manicured hand. Kindly allow me to complete my thoughts. This Saturday marks the occasion of the Charleston family's charity gala. Madison Charleston has been watching Ethan for months. They would be an ideal pairing, sharing comparable backgrounds and values. It would be unfortunate to witness anyone suffer due to a fleeting obsession. Sarah senses a flush creeping to her cheeks, yet she maintains a calm tone. With all due respect, Mrs. Parker, I have not requested anything from Ethan. He's merely a customer who extended a hand to assist my brother in his job search, and that's precisely how it ought to remain. Catherine delves into her purse and retrieves a check. I am ready to show kindness and give freely. This should take care of any costs your brother incurs, along with a little extra for your own judgment. Sarah gazes at the check, a wave of nausea washing over her. I believe we've reached the end of this discussion. She rises, her hands trembling ever so slightly. Your son's coffee is complimentary today, Mrs. Parker, but we kindly ask that you refrain from returning in the future. As Catherine departs, Sarah notices her reflection in the window, the worn clothes she wears, the coffee-stained apron, and her tousled hair. For the first time since encountering Ethan, she senses the vast chasm that separates their realities. The following morning, Sarah arrives at work ahead of schedule, eager to organize her thoughts before the bustling day begins. Yet at 7:43, a wave of despair washes over her as she spots Ethan making his way toward her through the window. For the first time, she finds herself hoping he would choose any other coffee shop in the city. He walks in, radiating his familiar warmth, but that brightness dims as he takes in her demeanor. Is that you, Sarah? Is all well? As she turns to the espresso machine, she asks, already avoiding his gaze. Sarah, Gaze upon me. What seems to be the issue? You might want to check out Bluestone Coffee on Park Avenue, she suggests softly, her eyes avoiding his. Their Americano is superb, and it's conveniently located near your office. Ethan approaches the counter, his voice dropping to a whisper. Has something occurred? Could it have been the pursuit of new opportunities? I have some positive news regarding that matter. Yesterday, your mother paid me a visit, Sarah interjects, finally meeting his gaze. The pain reflected in her gaze causes him to retreat a bit. She expressed herself with great clarity regarding specific matters. Ethan's expression shifts to one of shadow and gloom. What was her message to you? Everything was as it should be. Sarah begins to prepare his coffee, her actions methodical and precise. We come from separate realms, Ethan. I was unwise to overlook that, even for just a fleeting moment. Ethan exclaims in disbelief, That's absurd. My mother does not have the authority to decide. She offered me money, Sarah interjected, her voice trembling just enough to convey her desire to distance herself from you, to cease being an obstacle in your ideal connection with Madison Charleston. Ethan rakes his fingers through his hair, a gesture of exasperation. Just tell me you didn't take it. Naturally, I didn't take it. Sarah snaps, quickly softening her tone as she notices the curious glances from other customers. However, that is not the crux of the matter. Ultimately, she was correct. Observe us, Ethan. This weekend, you're off to a charity gala where attendees are likely to contribute more in a single night than I earn in an entire year. At the same time, I'm working on finding a way to support my brother in maintaining his scholarship while still pursuing my own aspiration of enrolling in business classes. Allow me to assist, Ethan implores. Not because I believe you require assistance, but because He halts, understanding that this moment is neither suitable nor appropriate for his thoughts to be expressed. What is it that you mean? Sarah inquires, her heart racing. Is it because you have sympathy for the unfortunate girl at the coffee shop? Am I just your charitable act for this month? You know that's not true, Ethan murmurs gently. Sarah, the conversations we've had over the past few days have truly been the highlight of... Text, your coffee's ready? She interrupts, setting it on the counter between them as if to create a divide. It's complimentary. Think of it as a parting present. Ethan declares he won't surrender so easily, yet he reaches for the cup. I refuse to attend that gala with Madison Charleston. You should, Sarah replies, finally locking eyes with him once more. Your mother is correct. She is far more fitting. Appropriate for what purpose? A life filled with extravagant gatherings and shallow dialogues? That's not what I'm looking for. He leans in, his voice charged with passion. Are you aware of my desires? I seek an individual who engages in literary discussions with fervor at 8 a.m. A person who prioritizes their family and demonstrates a strong work ethic in pursuit of their aspirations. A person who challenges my understanding of what is truly significant in life. Sarah senses the tears welling up and quickly blinks them away. Kindly, Ethan. Simply leave. He straightens, pain clear in his eyes. All right, but don't forget what you shared with me regarding Steinbeck? The way his characters consistently battle their circumstances, determined to defy societal expectations of their value. Perhaps you ought to reflect on your own interpretation of the text. As he steps outside, Sarah clutches the counter for support. Jules materializes next to her, gently resting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Did you catch that? Sarah inquires. Darling, the entire cafe was listening. Every individual present is wholeheartedly supporting Ethan. Jules gently presses her shoulder. Even you, if you would only acknowledge it. It's nothing, Sarah replies, dabbing at her tears. His mother was unequivocal about what someone of my kind could anticipate from their reality. I refuse to be a subject of anyone's goodwill or a test for their theories. According to what I just heard, Jules remarks thoughtfully, that man perceives you as neither of those things. You're repeating the same error as his mother. Evaluating a person by their financial status instead of their character. Sarah gazes at the counter, where Ethan's business card rests beside an envelope. Within, She discovers details regarding a tech startup in search of QA testers. Ideal for Danny's talents. And a personal note written by hand. I have faith in putting resources into individuals who are significant. Outside, Ethan lingers on the sidewalk, his gaze fixed on the untouched coffee before him. For the very first time, he finds himself questioning everything around him. His realm, his advantages, his mother's impact, and above all, what he is prepared to stand up for. 3 days go by. The daily grind persists in its familiar rhythm. Yet there's a palpable shift in Sarah that hasn't gone unnoticed. Her smile stays polished, yet the warmth has faded. She immerses herself in her tasks, putting in extra hours to scrutinize the cafe's finances, looking for any opportunity to boost profits and support Danny's circumstances. Danny enters for his third training shift, his gaze fixed on his sister, worry etched across his face. You know, he says while restocking cups, I went to that interview at the tech startup. Sarah almost lets the mug slip from her grasp as she washes it. Excuse me? Why didn't you share that with me? Is it because you've been steering clear of anything even slightly related to Ethan? Danny gives a nonchalant shrug. But Sarah, this opportunity is just ideal. My concepts for user interface testing were well received, and the compensation is sufficient to cover my laptop expenses and support my education. So, you accepted the position? Sarah inquires softly. I mentioned that I required some time to consider it. Danny encounters the astonished gaze of his sister. I won't accept it if it complicates things for you. But I did some investigating. Ethan has no connection to this company whatsoever. He simply facilitated the introduction, believing I would be a suitable match. No conditions apply. Just as Sarah is about to reply, the bell above the cafe door jingles softly. Catherine Parker makes her entrance once more, this time in the company of a graceful young woman boasting flawlessly styled blonde hair. Sarah, my dear, Catherine calls out, her voice as sweet as honey. Allow me to introduce you to Madison Charleston. Madison, here is the barista I was talking about. Madison's gaze sweeps over Sarah, filled with deliberate curiosity. So you're the reason Ethan has been so preoccupied lately. I have to admit, I anticipated something quite different. Sarah aligns her posture, summoning every bit of grace she can muster. I appreciate your understanding, but as I mentioned to Mrs. Parker, I'm not interested in pursuing this further. Oh, that's not our purpose here, Madison interjects effortlessly. We're gathered here due to Ethan's recent behavior, which has been quite challenging. He has called off 3 dinner dates and is now hinting that he might skip the gala. Catherine wondered if I would understand what all the excitement was about. I'm not here for your entertainment, Sarah asserts with conviction. Ethan's decisions belong solely to him. Is that so? Catherine inquired. Or has he merely been captivated by a different way of living? The allure of a down-to-earth romance can be quite captivating for those who have never truly experienced it. Danny advances with purpose. Madam, you are quite unaware of the most fundamental aspects. It's all right, Danny, Sarah interjects. She glances over at Catherine and Madison. Indeed, you are correct. I feel out of place in your realm. However, what you fail to grasp is that I have no desire to. I take great pride in my identity and the accomplishments I've achieved. I put in the effort, I nurture my loved ones, and I believe in valuing individuals beyond their financial status or social circles. How commendable, Madison remarks with a patronizing grin. But sweetheart, pride doesn't cover the expenses. Does it? We are aware of your brother's circumstances. Wouldn't it be simpler to merely what? A fresh perspective joins the dialogue. All eyes shift to Ethan, who stands in the doorway, his face a storm of emotions. To simply accept the funds and vanish? To understand her role? Madison, could you please complete that thought? Ethan? Catherine declares with enthusiasm. We were simply illustrating precisely why I have been steering clear of all of you. Ethan shifts to take his place next to Sarah. Are you curious about my perspective on Sarah? I observe an individual whose dedication surpasses that of anyone I am acquainted with. One who prioritizes the needs of others above their own. Who prompted me to reevaluate every assumption of privilege I've ever held. He glances at Sarah, his tone gentle and warm, who helped me understand that true success lies not in the wealth you accumulate, but in the impact you have on others. True elegance is not defined by designer labels, but rather by the way you treat those around you. Catherine hisses, "Ethan, you're causing quite a stir." Excellent. Ethan's gaze remains fixed on Sarah. I feel it's important for everyone to listen to this. I have no interest in galas, societal norms, or the opinions of others regarding what is deemed appropriate. The one person I wish to accompany to that gala is you, Sarah. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's simply that you're the one I truly want to be with. With her heart pounding, Sarah finds the courage to speak. "I don't have a designer dress. Wear jeans if that's what you prefer." Ethan beams with joy. Or even better, forgo the gala altogether. Let's grab some pizza, and you can share your thoughts on why you believe Steinbeck surpasses Hemingway. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Madison huffs. "Catherine, are you listening to this?" Yet Catherine observes her son with a fresh perspective, recognizing something she had previously overlooked. He is happy, genuinely joyful, in a manner she hasn't experienced since before his father's passing, which burdened him with the heavy expectations of the family. Maybe, Catherine suggests thoughtfully, it's time for us to leave. If this video resonates with you and you crave more content of this nature, be sure to click that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. In this manner, you will ensure that you don't overlook any of the incredible narratives we have in store. Your encouragement truly aids in the channel's expansion and allows us to continue delivering more of what you cherish. Thanks a lot. As Madison exits in a flurry, Catherine casts a final, lingering glance at her son before the cafe is enveloped in a heavy silence. Other patrons feign interest in their coffees, yet all eyes are on Sarah and Ethan. "You didn't have to do that," Sarah murmurs gently. "Indeed, I did." Ethan tousles his hair, disrupting its meticulously arranged style. "I ought to have taken action earlier. I sincerely apologize for everything that has happened." Jules lets out a pronounced cough. "Hey Danny, could you please take a moment to check the inventory in the back?" Like truly deep in the background. As they depart, Sarah struggles to suppress a smile, even amidst the chaos. "Your mother is going to be absolutely livid." Ethan likely concurs. "But do you know what I discovered this week? I have dedicated my whole existence to meeting the expectations of others. The heir to my father's legacy, the ideal son in my mother's eyes, the youngest partner at the firm, and the perfect match for Madison. The moments I truly feel like me are when I'm here, conversing with you, Ethan." Sarah begins to speak, but he raises a hand to stop her. "Please allow me to complete my thoughts. You were correct about one aspect. We indeed come from distinct realms. That's precisely why your presence is essential to me. You provoke a reevaluation of all my previous understandings. Your influence inspires me to strive for improvement, not to seek validation from my mother or conform to societal norms, but for my own sake." Sarah glances at her coffee-stained apron before turning her gaze back to him. "I still have no intention of attending that gala." Ethan chuckles, a look of relief washing over his features. "Thank goodness. I really dislike those things, to be honest." He becomes a bit more serious. "However, I truly stand by my words regarding the pizza. Perhaps we could explore that charming Italian spot just around the corner. Alternatively, a food truck sets up by the park every Thursday. Are you inviting me out?" Sarah attempts to keep her tone light, yet her heart races with intensity. Ethan expresses a desire for an opportunity to demonstrate that the world I aspire to inhabit is wherever you may be. Just as Sarah is about to reply, Danny's head pops out from the back. "Apologies for breaking the spell of this enchanting moment, but dear sister, you really need to take a look at this." He clutches his phone, displaying an email from the tech startup. "I have received a job offer. Comprehensive benefits and adaptable hours for educational commitments." He takes a moment to let the silence linger. The laptop replacement will be included as part of the signing bonus. With a tight embrace, Sarah can feel the tears starting to form in her eyes as she holds her brother close. As she withdraws, her gaze meets Ethan's, who observes them with a gentle smile. Did you really not pull any strings? She inquires of him. Ethan has just confirmed the introduction. Danny took care of everything else. His knowledge and passion left them in awe. Just as I was captivated by another member of the Mitchell family, who possesses an unparalleled knowledge of classic literature. Sarah dabs at her eyes, a soft chuckle escaping her lips. If you're attempting to charm me with allusions to the written word, is it functioning as intended? Perhaps. She inhales deeply. However, I do have certain stipulations. First, let's ensure there are no more interruptions from your mother. Completed. It seems you may have truly made an impression on her by standing your ground. She holds a deep appreciation for strength, even if she would never acknowledge it openly. Next, Sarah adds, we proceed at a measured pace. Take the time to truly understand one another, beyond the casual chats over coffee. Absolutely. Even so, I will continue to visit this place each morning for my coffee. Third, Sarah's tone shifts to a serious note. You must understand that I will be covering my own expenses. There are no elaborate displays or attempts to fix my issues with financial means. I require assurance that you value my autonomy. Ethan gives a grave nod.
Yes, sur you.
While I maintain the freedom to leave impressively generous tips, the service here truly deserves it. And finally, Sarah steps closer to him. You must concede that Steinbeck holds a superior position compared to Hemingway. This elicits an authentic laugh from Ethan. That crosses the line. However, I'm open to discussing it while enjoying some pizza. Is it tomorrow night? Sarah proposes, a sense of relief washing over her after days of heaviness. Is it a date? Ethan smiles broadly. It seems I could use another cup of coffee to power through the meetings lined up for today. Coming right up, Sarah says as she moves behind the counter. As she prepares his Americano, she senses a change in the air. The gap between their realms feels less daunting now, especially as they construct their own connection, one dialogue at a time. 2 weeks later, Sarah finds herself in a cozy pizzeria, observing with amusement as Ethan attempts to enjoy a slice of New York-style pizza while avoiding any sauce mishaps on his custom-made shirt. They've settled into a cozy rhythm, sharing coffee in the mornings, enjoying casual dinners a few times a week, and engaging in endless conversations about everything and nothing. You know you can lose the tie, she playfully suggests. The pizza authorities won't take you into custody. And tarnish my status as the most stylish patron at Tony's Pizzeria? He smiles, at last surrendering and easing his tie. Moreover, I just returned from a meeting with a client. Not everyone can master the effortless style quite like you do. Sarah looks down at her modest sundress, a treasure from a thrift store that she had skillfully modified herself. I have news, she says, shifting the topic. I signed up for that business course at the community college. Ethan's expression brightens. Sarah, that's absolutely wonderful. When do you begin? In the upcoming month. I'm able to attend evening classes following my shifts. She inhales deeply. I've had a conversation with the owner of the cafe. Mr. Henderson is contemplating retirement in the coming years. He mentioned that if I obtain my business degree, he would think about selling me the cafe. Is that so? Sarah, that's absolutely wonderful. You're already in charge around here. Ethan leans forward with enthusiasm. Have you considered how you'd like to shape it? I've got a few concepts brewing. Sarah's eyes glimmer with enthusiasm as she shares her aspirations. I would preserve the essence that gives it its unique charm. The sense of belonging, the familiar faces who have turned into kin. Perhaps consider broadening the menu and incorporating evening events such as poetry readings or local music nights. You'd excel at that, Ethan remarks gently, observing her excitement. If you ever find yourself in need of assistance with the business plan, just let me know. Ethan, she cautions with a playful tone. He raises his hands in surrender, neither providing financial support nor addressing issues. I'm here to provide my insights and serve as a thoughtful listener. Entirely distinct matter. In a professional tone, Sarah inquired, how did your mother react to the news of you declining the Charleston merger? Ethan winces just a bit. Madison's father found himself in a rather unfortunate predicament, as his company's merger proposal faced rejection just as his daughter received disappointing news about the gala. But to be frank, the arrangement proved unfavorable for both companies involved. I believe my mother truly appreciated that I chose to make my decision grounded in business merit instead of relying on social connections. And the fact that you arrived at Sunday brunch with a coffee shop owner's business card instead of Madison's phone number? She is adjusting to her new circumstances. Ethan extends his hand across the table. She inquired whether you would be joining us for dinner next week. An intimate dinner for just the three of us. She expressed a desire to grasp what her son finds appealing in someone who can effortlessly quote John Steinbeck. Sarah tightens her muscles just a bit. I'm not familiar with Ethan. The last occasion I encountered your mother? He gently squeezes her hand. This stands apart. No tricks, no deceit. Only dinner. If she utters anything out of line, we'll take our leave. In unison, Sarah examines his face, noticing the genuine emotion reflected in his expression. Understood. However, I'm not adorned in any designer pieces. Choose attire that brings you ease and comfort. With a playful grin, he suggests that if you're looking to truly surprise her, a visit to that charming vintage bookstore you adore could be in order, where you might share your intriguing theory about the Great Gatsby serving as a critique of the American dream. Sarah chuckles softly. Are you really looking to stir things up? Perhaps just a tad? His demeanor becomes increasingly grave. Yet, above all, I desire for her to perceive the world through my eyes. A person of exceptional intellect, fervent enthusiasm, and unwavering authenticity. A person who challenges my every desire and reveals what truly matters to me. What is that? This. He motions back and forth between them. Genuine dialogues. Sharing laughter over a slice of pizza. Engaging in discussions about literature, existence, and all the nuances that connect them. Nothing but authenticity, just the two of us. Sarah experiences a gentle warmth radiating from her chest. Even if that means your Armani suits will always carry the scent of coffee, particularly at that moment. He reclines, a contemplative expression settling upon his features. Today I experienced a moment that really stood out. During the board meeting, I found myself absorbing the discussions surrounding profit margins and market expansions. All I could focus on was how incredibly vibrant I feel sitting here with you in this $20 pie pizzeria. Far more than I ever did in those 5-star establishments. With a playful grin, Sarah cautions, be careful. You're beginning to resemble a character from Steinbeck, turning away from the trappings of materialism. Recently, I had the privilege of having an incredible literature teacher. She's employed at a coffee shop, crafts an exceptional Americano, and has profoundly transformed my outlook on life. As Sunday evening descends, Sarah finds herself poised before Catherine Parker's townhouse on the Upper East Side, her heart pounding with anticipation. She's donned her finest attire, a navy blue vintage dress discovered at a consignment shop, and is clutching a bottle of wine that Ethan promised would be impressive enough for his mother, yet affordable enough to respect her independence. At that moment, her phone vibrated with a message from Danny, expressing his disappointment about his first week at the new job. My supervisor believes I have an innate ability, smiley face. I appreciate your unwavering faith in me, sis. Sarah beams, her confidence blossoming within her. If Danny can flourish in his new environment, she can certainly manage one dinner. Ethan swings the door open just as she raises her hand to ring the bell. He confesses that he was waiting for you, then leans in and softly says, "You look stunning. Has she arrived yet?" Catherine's voice echoes from within. Ethan, don't let her linger on the doorstep. The Catherine Parker they encounter in the dining room presents a stark contrast to the formidable presence that burst into the coffee shop. She appears at ease in a chic yet understated black dress, and her smile carries a sense of authenticity, albeit with a hint of hesitation. "Sarah, I appreciate you being here." Catherine motions towards the elegantly arranged table. "I figured we could keep things casual this evening. Only the two of us?" Sarah observes that the table is arranged for 3, rather than the multitude of servants and guests she had somewhat anticipated. "I appreciate the invitation, Mrs. Parker. The residence exudes beauty. Catherine, if you could, please?" She receives the wine with a fitting sense of gratitude. Ethan mentioned that your brother has begun a new role in the tech industry. Indeed, he is thoroughly enjoying it. Sarah eases into her seat, a hint of relaxation washing over her. The organization truly appreciates his insights on user experience design. Remarkable. Catherine gazes thoughtfully over her wine glass. Your dedication to supporting his educational journey is truly commendable. We support one another, Sarah states matter-of-factly. That's the essence of family. A spark dances in Catherine's gaze. Indeed, it is. She casts a fleeting look at Ethan. My late husband often expressed that sentiment. Perhaps that's why Ethan felt such a connection to your cafe. It embodies the warmth of the family atmosphere he once knew. Her voice fades away. Before my father passed away and we became consumed with keeping up appearances, Ethan concludes gently. He extends his hand toward Sarah's, seeking a connection beneath the table. The routine of everyday life brought to mind the essence of genuine connections. Catherine gently touches her eyes with her napkin. I guess I haven't excelled at that recently, have I? Attempting to shape you into a certain form, guiding you toward what I believed was ideal. Mother? Ethan begins, yet Catherine carries on. Upon my arrival at the cafe that day, I believed I was safeguarding you. Observing your unwavering support for Sarah and witnessing the joy you've radiated in recent weeks has been truly inspiring. I came to understand that the responsibility for change rested with me. Sarah senses tears on the verge of spilling. Catherine Parker, I want you to understand that it was never my intention to create any issues. My concern for Ethan stems from his character, rather than his possessions. I understand that now. Catherine extends her hand across the table, gently brushing against Sarah's. And kindly overlook the biases of an elderly woman. At times, we cling so firmly to our notions of what is acceptable that we overlook the truth before us. The remainder of the dinner unfolds with greater ease. Catherine inquires about Sarah's business classes, demonstrating a sincere curiosity about her aspirations for the cafe. Sarah shares her memories of growing up with Danny, while Catherine recounts the adventures of young Ethan. Catherine fondly remembers how he always stood apart from his peers. While other boys desired toys, Ethan yearned for books. He would immerse himself in stories, the soft glow of a flashlight illuminating the pages as he lost track of time beneath the covers. That sheds light on the Hemingway fixation. Sarah jests, eliciting a groan from Ethan. Not you as well, Mom. I require at least one ally in the grand discourse on literature. Apologies, my dear, but I've always found myself leaning more towards the works of Steinbeck. In the midst of their laughter, Sarah becomes aware that a change has occurred. The barriers that once separated their realms remain, yet doors have begun to appear, gradually creaking open. 3 months later, Sarah finds herself immersed in the routine of post-closing, enveloped by spreadsheets and business plans. As her initial semester draws to a close, Mr. Henderson has been increasingly allowing her to embrace greater management responsibilities. Ethan perches at the counter, his suit jacket cast aside and sleeves rolled up, assisting her in examining the figures. These profit margins are quite impressive, he remarks while examining the spreadsheet, particularly taking into account the setting and the competitive landscape. I've been putting into practice some of the lessons from class, as Sarah pours them both fresh coffee. Small adjustments, such as refining our ordering schedule to minimize waste and incorporating seasonal specials. It's not groundbreaking, but it gets the job done, Ethan concludes. Mr. Henderson is likely to be quite impressed. He proposed to begin instructing me on the intricacies of supplier relationships next month. While Sarah sits beside him, their shoulders brushing against each other. At times, it feels surreal that this is actually unfolding. A year ago, I was merely focused on keeping Danny in school. And now, look at him. He's flourishing at his job, you're excelling in your classes, and this place is thriving like never before. Ethan pivots to meet her gaze. That was you, Sarah. Everything. Not everything, she gently clarifies. Assistance was provided. Thanks to Danny for taking on extra shifts, to Jules for stepping in when I have classes, and to you for your unwavering belief in me. As we delve into the topic of belief, Ethan opens his briefcase and says, "I have something for you." Before she could voice her objections, he retrieved a folder and extended it toward her. Within the pages, Sarah discovers details regarding grants and loan initiatives tailored for female entrepreneurs in the small business sector. He clarifies swiftly that he didn't submit any applications. "I have completed the research. These programs operate independently, with no ties to me or my firm. I was wondering if you might be considering purchasing the cafe when the time feels right for you?" As Sarah peruses the materials, her eyes brim with tears. "Thank you, Ethan." "Hey, don't cry," he murmurs, drawing her in closer. "I'm merely the research assistant. You are the one who will bring it to fruition." At that moment, the bell above the door rings out. They glance upward to catch sight of Danny stepping in, nearly vibrating with enthusiasm. "I thought you were working late," Sarah says, dabbing at her eyes. "I needed to share this with you face to face." Danny's smile is almost impossible to suppress. "Do you recall the app concept I shared with my team? The piece focused on enhancing technology accessibility for senior users? It was adored. A small team has been assigned to me for the development of a prototype." Sarah leaps into her brother's arms, embracing him tightly. "That's incredible, Danny." He goes on to elaborate. "If everything goes well, they will support me through my degree. Complete coverage of tuition fees." Ethan rises to extend his hand to Danny. "Well done, my friend. That is truly remarkable." "Thanks," Danny says, casting a significant glance at his sister. "Your encouragement has been the driving force behind my perseverance. To persevere in education, even when the challenges appear insurmountable. We Mitchell siblings have a certain tenacity," Sarah declares with pride. In reference to the unyielding Mitchells, Danny smiles. "Mom reached out. She'll be arriving for a visit next week. She expresses a desire to visit the upscale coffee shop her kids have been raving about." Sarah's eyes grow large with surprise. Is Mom on her way? However, it has been years since she last visited the city. Not since that time. Since Dad passed away, Danny concludes in silence. Observing our success and pursuit of dreams seems to have contributed to her healing as well. Ethan observes the siblings, noting the array of emotions playing across their faces. "Why not organize a lovely dinner in her honor? My space offers ample room." "No upscale dining establishments?" Sarah inquires, recalling their agreement. "No elaborate frills," Ethan assures. "Only family. However," he pauses for a moment before proceeding, "my mother could come by. She expressed a desire to meet the woman who nurtured two such remarkable children." Sarah's laughter rings out, a melody of pure joy and astonishment. "Can you envision? Half a year ago, I was merely the barista who accidentally embraced a stranger. The greatest blunder of my existence," Ethan murmurs as he draws her in once more. "Even so, I can't shake the feeling that you did it intentionally to sway me to Team Steinbeck." With a dramatic flair, Sarah rolls her eyes. "As if I had to stoop to deceit. My arguments in writing stand strong and compelling on their own." Danny observes them with a knowing smile. "It's interesting, isn't it? For someone who had concerns about fitting into his world, you've managed to draw him into ours quite effectively." Sarah surveys the cafe, taking in the well-loved yet cozy chairs, the local artwork adorning the walls, and the chalkboard where she inscribes literary quotes each morning. She gazes at Ethan, who appears far more comfortable in his wrinkled shirt and relaxed tie than he ever did amidst the polished corporate surroundings. "Perhaps it transcends his world and my world now," she muses introspectively. "Perhaps we are simply creating our own." A week later, Sarah arranges the fresh flowers on the cafe's counter, a smile spreading across her face as she reflects on the journey the place has taken. Fresh local artwork enlivens the walls, thoughtfully curated by Jules, who has demonstrated a keen eye for up-and-coming talent. The evening poetry readings she initiated have transformed into a cherished neighborhood event, attracting a varied audience that connects the world of Wall Street professionals with the essence of artistic spirits. The bell tolls and Sarah glances up to spot her mother, Linda Mitchell, walking in alongside Danny. She remains largely unchanged, her warm eyes and weathered hands still telling the story of a life spent nurturing them on a teacher's salary after their father's passing. Mother? Sarah hurriedly moves around the counter to wrap her arms around her. Linda embraces her daughter closely, then gently releases her to survey the surroundings. Is this where you reside? Danny has shared so much about it, but experiencing it firsthand? She caresses the counter with a sense of awe. This would have brought your father so much joy. Do you really believe that? Sarah's voice trembles just a bit. Oh, darling. He always remarked on your remarkable entrepreneurial flair. Do you recall the days when you would organize that lemonade stand each summer? You didn't merely offer beverages. You crafted an unforgettable journey. A delightful tale for the little ones, with cozy seating for the adults? She remains the same, Danny interjects. She really stands out among the regulars here. She recalls each person's beverage, their narratives, their aspirations. The bell rings once more as Catherine Parker steps in, exuding an air of elegance while remaining inviting in her casual blazer. She holds a petite, wrapped parcel in her hands. I hope I'm not too early, she says, then glances over at Linda. You must be the mother of Sarah and Danny. I am Catherine, the mother of Ethan. Sarah takes a moment to steady herself as she observes the two women appraising one another. Yet Linda simply offers a warm smile. Linda Mitchell. It seems our children have become quite the topic of conversation in both of our realms, haven't they? Indeed, that is true, Catherine concurs. Your daughter has been exceptionally kind to my son. It seems like I haven't witnessed him this joyful since his childhood. As Sarah mentions Ethan, she glances around. Where could he be? He mentioned he would arrive by this time. Catherine explains with a mysterious smile that he had a last-minute meeting. He will join us at the restaurant. That brings to mind. She presents the package to Sarah. He requested that I pass this along to you. You mentioned that it would be a good idea to open it before we head out. With great care, Sarah peels back the layers to reveal a first edition of The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Within the cover, Ethan has inscribed, "To the woman who showed me that the most profound tales are not defined by our origins, but by the paths we decide to traverse together." Oh, that boy is really smitten, Jules remarks while glancing over Sarah's shoulder. Catherine nods in proud agreement. It's quite invigorating to witness his genuine concern for matters that hold greater significance than just profits and corporate alliances. Linda picks up the book, scrutinizing it with a discerning eye. Once upon a time, I would share the works of Steinbeck with these two when they were just kids. Their father believed I was out of my mind, thinking they were too young to grapple with such profound themes. Yet it was Sarah who truly grasped it. The grace found in everyday existence. The power of togetherness? Catherine speaks gently. That's precisely what she added to Ethan's life. A gentle reminder that genuine value transcends monetary figures. Sarah holds the book tightly against her chest, feeling a rush of emotions as she observes her mother and Catherine conversing like longtime friends, Danny radiating success and happiness, her cafe flourishing, and Ethan continually discovers innovative methods to demonstrate that love knows no limits. Catherine glances at her watch and proposes that we make our way to the restaurant. Ethan is likely waiting. As they collect their belongings, Mr. Henderson emerges from his office. Sarah, would you mind coming by early tomorrow? I have a few papers I would like to go over with you. Sarah nods, her heart racing. She is quite confident that she understands which documents he is referring to. Conversations have become more earnest regarding her potential takeover of the cafe. As she surveys the faces of her family, both familiar and fresh, Sarah is enveloped by a deep sense of belonging. The young woman who once fretted over connecting two disparate realms now understands that love, aspirations, and resolve possess the power to completely reshape the landscape. Upon arriving at the restaurant, Sarah is taken aback to discover it's the everyday spot instead of the upscale venue she had anticipated. The cafe has undergone a delightful transformation. Soft string lights dangle from the ceiling, casting a warm glow, while the tables have been thoughtfully rearranged around a central space. Simple mason jar vases on every table are filled with local flowers, reminiscent of those her father used to grow. What's happening? She inquires, but all that greets her are knowing smiles. Then she spots Ethan in the middle of the room, still dressed in his work suit, yet sporting that charmingly disheveled appearance she's grown fond of. He clutches a solitary coffee cup. He gestures around, hoping you won't mind. I believed this suited us better than an upscale eatery. Ethan, what is going on here? He advances, extending the coffee cup toward her. Take a moment to explore within. With quivering hands, Sarah grasps the cup. Inside, crafted with exquisite latte art, the words, "Marry me?" 6 months ago, Ethan begins, his voice gentle yet distinct. I walked into this cafe as a man who believed he had everything under control. Achievement signified the prestigious office, the luxurious attire, the ideal network. Then you collided with my existence, quite literally, and revealed to me what I had been lacking. He gently takes her free hand. You showed me that genuine richness lies not in financial assets but in the impact we have on others' emotions. True elegance is not defined by designer labels. It is reflected in the way you treat those around you. The most beautiful love stories unfold not through extravagant displays, but in the quiet, heartfelt moments of true connection. As Ethan continues, Sarah can't help but feel the warm tears streaming down her cheeks. You never attempted to conform to my reality, for you understood that your own was equally significant. Instead, you revealed the path to creating something fresh in unison. Each morning, I find myself stepping into this cafe, not solely for its exceptional coffee, though it certainly offers that, but for the presence of you, the essence of your kindness, the power of your spirit, the beauty of your soul. He delves into his pocket and retrieves a ring, understated, graceful, and utterly fitting for Sarah. In this very spot where our journey commenced, with our families gathered around us, I ask you, Sarah Mitchell, will you be my wife? Sarah surveys the crowd of familiar faces, her mother dabbing at her tears, Danny capturing every moment on his phone, Jules struggling to hold back tears but ultimately succumbing, Catherine radiating pure joy, and Mr. Henderson observing with pride from the counter where she first honed her coffee-making skills. She gazes at Ethan, the man who never sought to alter her, but rather embraced the transformation she brought to him. Under one condition, she states, her voice trembling with feeling. Everything. Let's vow to keep this moment etched in our memories forever. It's not merely the proposal itself, but the significance it embodies. Two individuals from distinct realms deciding to forge their own path. I promise, Ethan says gently. Isn't that precisely the kind of theme Steinbeck would explore? Isn't it fascinating how the simplest moments can transform into something remarkable when touched by love? Sarah chuckles amidst her tears. Now you're merely flaunting your command of the written word. Is it functioning properly? Indeed, she murmurs. Absolutely to the proposal, absolutely to our future, absolutely to everything. As Ethan slides the ring onto her finger, and their families erupt in applause, Sarah comes to a deep realization. The hug that seemed like a mistake months back was anything but a mistake. It was a reminder from the universe that often, the most wonderful experiences arise from welcoming the unforeseen. If this video resonates with you and you crave more content of this nature, be sure to click that subscribe button and activate the notification bell. In that manner, you will ensure you don't overlook any of the incredible narratives we have in store. Your encouragement truly fuels the channel's growth and enables us to continue delivering the content you enjoy. Thank you very much. The following morning, Sarah makes her way to the daily grind, her new ring glimmering in the soft morning light. Mr. Henderson awaits in his office, papers neatly arranged on his desk, accompanied by a welcoming smile. It seems that the thrill of yesterday adds a perfect touch to our discussion now. He gestures for her to take a seat. I must confess, young Ethan sought my approval not only for the proposal but also for the use of the cafe. It wouldn't feel appropriate to exclude the location that united you. Sarah absent-mindedly grazes her fingers over her ring. He has been quite unpredictable recently. In a moment of unexpected revelation, Mr. Henderson reveals a folder. Here are the initial documents for the transfer of ownership. I've had my attorney prepare them. In the coming 2 years, you'll steadily acquire a stake in the business as I transition into retirement. By that time, you will have completed your business degree, and the daily grind will be completely under your control. Sarah's eyes brim with tears, a familiar sensation that seems to repeat endlessly within the span of a single day. Mr. Henderson, I'm at a loss for words. Promise to nurture the essence of this place. That is all I request. He gazes around the cafe with a warm sense of nostalgia. 3 decades ago, my wife and I embarked on the journey of opening this shop. She often remarked that a fine cup of coffee served merely as a pretext for fostering connection among people. Do you get what I'm saying, Sarah? I've observed you cultivate those relationships each day. I promise, Sarah states with conviction. The daily grind will forever be a haven for all, a space where everyone finds their place. Later that morning, Ethan strolls in for his regular coffee, but today he brings along an unexpected twist, a modest request for assistance. Before she can utter a word, he begins to notice her inquiry. Listen closely to what I have to say. I've been contemplating a shift. The realm of business, a relentless chase for greater transactions. It no longer holds my interest. Sarah's heart flutters. Ethan, could you clarify what you mean? He inhales deeply. I aspire to understand the coffee industry from its very foundations. If I'm going to be married to the owner of the daily grind, I ought to learn how to create more than just spreadsheets. Are you interested in working at this coffee shop? Sarah is in disbelief at what she's hearing. What's the situation with Sterling and Ross? I will continue to provide consultation for a few chosen clients. I've had discussions with the board regarding my intention to reduce my involvement in the full-time partnership. He smiles broadly. Their expressions were priceless when I expressed my desire to delve into the craft of coffee making instead. Your mother is at risk of experiencing a serious health crisis. Indeed, Ethan remarks, she chuckled. Stated it was high time a Parker engaged in something genuinely significant with their existence. She then inquired if we could create a signature drink in her honor. Jules, who has been listening in without any shame, exclaims about the Catherine Extra Hot, noting its slight bitterness but also its unexpectedly sweet finish. Amidst the laughter, Sarah gazes at her cherished cafe, seeing it anew. The morning sun pours in through the windows, illuminating the local artwork, the well-loved yet cozy chairs, as the familiar faces begin to nestle into their preferred corners. This location, which has long been her aspiration, is evolving into something even grander, a representation of the profound way love can change not only individuals but also entire realms. All right, she finally responds. However, you begin at the base just like all others. No preferential treatment simply due to your relationship with the owner. Ethan nods in agreement, affirming that he wouldn't want it any other way. However, I do have a single stipulation. What is that? A copy of The Grapes of Wrath is kept behind the counter. To spark creativity. Sarah lifts her hand to adjust his perpetually askew tie, a gesture that has evolved into their own cherished ritual. Agreed. However, we are also receiving Hemingway. This cafe champions a rich tapestry of written expression. Do you see? Ethan draws her near. We're already making concessions. We will forge a strong partnership in business. Partners in every sense. Sarah adjusts herself on tiptoe to kiss him. From behind the counter, Jules feigns a dramatic gagging motion. If you both keep being this adorable every morning, I might just have to ask for a raise. Rest assured, Sarah will return the call. Before long, you'll have a fresh recruit to challenge. Ensure that you instruct him on the correct method for cleaning the espresso machine. Oh, believe me, Jules smirks mischievously. I'm looking forward to this experience. Half a year later, the daily grind hums with energy as the evening crowd converges for a unique occasion. The cafe has undergone yet another transformation, this time in celebration of the grand opening of their new evening hours and an expanded menu. The walls continue to showcase local artwork, yet a small stage has been added for poetry readings and acoustic performances. Sarah stands behind the counter, observing Ethan as he strives to create a flawless heart in his latte art. Even after months of practice, his hearts still resemble abstract blobs, yet his resolve remains unshaken. He traded in his tailored suits for dark jeans and a button-down with rolled sleeves, the attire of the daily grind. yet he remains drawn to wearing luxurious watches. You're overthinking it, she softly directs his hands. It's all about embracing the natural rhythm, rather than imposing your will. That's what you mentioned regarding Steinbeck, he playfully remarks. Just take a moment to observe the outcome of that situation. Danny strides in, laptop in hand, a proud smile lighting up his face. Can you believe it? The app has just received the green light for full development. He arranges himself at his familiar corner table. The very place he once turned to for solace during challenging moments has now evolved into his makeshift workspace, a refuge from the demands of the tech company. Catherine and Linda step in unison, engrossed in a lively discussion about their collaborative endeavor. A fund dedicated to supporting students from working-class backgrounds, drawing inspiration from Danny's remarkable journey. They formed an unexpected yet deep bond, connecting their distinct lives through a mutual affection for their kids. Sarah, my dear, Catherine calls out, Linda and I were pondering, what if we held the scholarship fundraiser here? Doesn't it seem appropriate, in your opinion? A sophisticated charity event at a coffee shop? Sarah beams with joy. What might your social circle have to say? Who really cares? Catherine gestures with a flick of her hand, signaling her disinterest. Moreover, the majority of them seem to visit primarily for the coffee these days. Your cafe has transformed into a popular destination for the Wall Street elite. Indeed, the daily grind has cultivated a distinctive blend of patrons. Business leaders gather with artists and students, all captivated by the inviting ambience and authentic relationships. Even Madison Charleston has become a familiar face, though she remains adamant about having her coffee served at precisely 157 degrees. Mr. Garcia, their loyal patron, lifts his teacup from his familiar seat. You've created something remarkable here, Sarah. A haven has been crafted where all find their place. Jules, having taken on the role of manager at the cafe while Sarah attends to ownership responsibilities, begins preparing for the evening's celebrations. Should I release the special edition cups? She lifts coffee cups adorned with the Daily Grind's fresh logo, a heart crafted from coffee rings, symbolizing the unintentional embrace that sparked it all. Perfect, Sarah agrees, then glances over to see Ethan gazing at her with that gentle expression she has grown to treasure. What is it? She inquires. He reflects on that initial morning, he says. How I entered this place feeling adrift, only to discover I was precisely where I needed to be. Quite the smooth talker for someone who still struggles to create a proper heart in a latte. She playfully jabs. I'm fortunate to have a partner who can guide me. He draws her near. Even so, I maintain that it was orchestrated. No one just happens to give hugs that flawless. It seems the answer will remain a mystery. Sarah winks. Please assist me in preparing for the poetry reading this evening. And be careful not to get anything on your elegant timepiece. As they collaborate, navigating around one another with a familiar grace, Sarah observes the tableau. Danny exuding success and confidence, their mothers dismantling social barriers, Jules overseeing the cafe with a sense of pride, Mr. Henderson relishing his semi-retirement, and loyal patrons transforming into family. The unexpected embrace that led a millionaire to her coffee shop transformed more than just two lives. It sparked waves that reshaped a whole community. Ultimately, it transcended the tale of a wealthy man and an impoverished girl discovering romance. It centered on two individuals courageous enough to forge a link between their realms, illustrating to others that the true riches are found in the bonds we create and the aspirations we boldly pursue. A year has passed, and Sarah finds herself in the daily grind before the doors swing open. As the morning sun starts to drape the city in a golden hue, she cradles a uniquely cherished coffee cup. The very ring Ethan used for his proposal, now carefully encased in a small display case behind the counter, nestled next to their first edition Steinbeck and, of course, a Hemingway as well. The bell tolls softly as Ethan steps inside, arriving earlier than he typically does. He has truly honed his skills in coffee making, yet Jules continues to playfully mock him about those initial months filled with remarkable mishaps. What stands out is his ability to embrace his authentic self. Transformed from a frazzled executive seeking approval from all, he has become a man who has discovered his unique journey to fulfillment. Prepared for the day, he inquires, encircling her with his arms from behind. She can hardly fathom that a year has passed, Sarah responds, leaning closer to him. At times, I find myself anticipating the moment I will awaken, only to discover that this has all been a figment of my imagination. If it is, I don't want to wake up, Ethan says, then adds with a grin, though I'm pretty sure my coffee-stained shirts are very real. Once more, the door swings open, revealing Danny accompanied by his development team. His application designed to enhance technology accessibility for older users has unexpectedly gained popularity, and he is already developing plans for expansion. Yet, he begins each day at his sister's cafe, insisting that the coffee enhances his coding skills. Catherine and Linda enter next, bearing boxes filled with brochures for their scholarship foundation. They have successfully supported 10 students in continuing their education, with aspirations to increase that figure in the coming year. What is the motto of the foundation? Dreams aren't concerned with financial status. Mr. Henderson pays a visit as well, even though he is completely retired now. He simply enjoys stopping by what he refers to as the little cafe that could. Today, he presents fresh flowers, reminiscent of that special opening day 2 decades ago. As the familiar faces of artists and bankers, students and executives, dreamers and doers start to fill the space, Sarah comes to a significant realization. The routine has transformed into something beyond a mere cafe experience. It demonstrates that love transcends the need to conform to another's reality or alter your true self. It's about having the courage to collaborate and bring something fresh into existence. She gazes at Ethan, who is happily preparing coffee next to Jules, his luxurious watch glinting in the light as he moves. He locks eyes with her and offers a smile, that familiar warmth that has remained unchanged since their first encounter. What's on your mind? He inquires during a serene pause, reflecting on how a single, unintended embrace altered the course of events. Sarah responds, "Isn't it fascinating how the most wonderful moments in life often arrive unexpectedly, especially when we summon the courage to embrace new possibilities?" "You know," Ethan says, his brow furrowed in contemplation, "I don't believe it was a mistake at all. It seems there was a glimpse of someone adrift in a misguided pursuit of achievement, someone who required a gentle nudge to remember the true essence of life. What truly holds significance?" Sarah inquires, fully aware of what his response will be. He gestures around the cafe. "Not the enterprise, although that's wonderful as well. Yet the community we have created. The lives we've influenced. We've illustrated that real wealth transcends monetary value. It lies in the bravery to be authentic, to forge connections, and to love unconditionally." Sarah surveys her small realm. In a scene where Danny guides a budding tech enthusiast, Catherine and Linda strategize for their upcoming scholarship fundraiser, while Jules imparts her wisdom to a new barista, echoing the patience she once extended to Ethan. She observes Mr. Garcia engaging in conversation with a young Wall Street analyst, as they delve into classic literature while enjoying their morning beverages. And she comes to understand, this is the true happy ending. Not merely discovering love, but cultivating an environment where love in all its manifestations can thrive. In spaces where walls dissolve over steaming mugs, where aspirations take flight with every sip of creamy lattes, and where all are reminded that true richness in life stems from the bonds we forge and the gaps we close. The morning sun pours through the windows, illuminating the steam rising from freshly brewed coffee, crafting delicate rainbows that waltz upon the walls. Sarah lifts the unique anniversary drink they've crafted, a flawless mixture, and offers a subtle toast to unexpected embraces, courageous souls, and the lovely reality that love transcends wealth and societal standing. It emphasizes the bravery to be authentic and the insight to understand that our diversity unites us rather than separates us. They enhance our narrative much like the ideal fusion of coffee.